And so you mentioned, our ministry that we have, and it's one of the reasons why we're so passionate about teaching relationship skills, because most people will be in a relationship, whether it's a work relationship or a relationship. Everybody's in a relationship of some kind, really, but most people will get married. It's a very high percentage of the population who gets married, and yet we get no training on it. And if you come from a bad, traumatic environment like I did,
Hmm.
and then you go and, try to have a relationship, and all you've ever seen is people who handle things all the wrong ways. You have no idea. And it's not like you learn in school how to have a healthy relationship. And so that's where, we have really become very passionate about teaching that. And both in, at the everyday life, and those that are also based on the principles of the Bible, because we're
Hmm.
able to show that everything that the psychologists say, most of the things I should say, some of the things I should say, align with what God says in His Word, and that's where we're able to really see a lot of people grow and heal. And just like what you were saying, is something will happen that will trigger something, trigger a response or a feeling, and we teach them to slow that process down
Hmm.
and not react out of emotion or out of like fight or flight, or
Hmm.
freeze in my case sometimes. And we just help them. We're just like, it's going to take practice. You just, when that thought comes, you take it captive, and then you can
Hmm.
decide what you're supposed to do with it from there. And, most people, they just react, and then the other person reacts, and then they react, and it's just this toxic cycle, reaction cycle. And we have to slow people down. And if you do it slow, then you can get faster and faster at it.
Excellent. Excellent. I think it's really so needed in this world because you have people who really want to have a good relationship, but like you said, their examples are not healthy, and so having examples and having tools that you give to young people, medium, middle-aged people, old
Think we
people.
all need it. We all
Yeah,
need it. And no
yeah.
matter, my husband and I have been doing this for 20 some years, and we feel like we still like need to keep learning and practicing and using the tools and learning new ways to use the same tools so that we can work through things like that. And it's all about not changing the other person, but recognizing in yourself the things that you need to change, because that's where it starts. And then, setting up some healthy boundaries and things like that. I don't think that a single person really knows how, coming out of trauma, knows what the word boundary means, or how to set it, or how to handle it. And that is like a lifetime of learning. And just think, if you were able to invest, like 3 weekends or 4 weekends, and walk away with something that changes your whole entire life, your marriage, your kids, your family, and your own personal happiness, you would definitely go, wow, maybe I should
Best.
think about doing this.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, the most important thing that I learned was this is not a battle, and it's not about being right. It's
right,
about us being together and to be in unity. So not the same,
right.
but in
Yeah, you're
unity.
not the same. It's,
Mm-mm.
I think it's 85% of all problems don't need to be resolved. They just need to be heard.
Yep,
And so
that's a good
just
way to say it.
yeah, so if you're a, but the problem is when you start to say, here's something I'm dealing with, then it could trigger someone, and then it's like a fix, and then a defense, and a this and a that, and there's all these other things. And so, like we said, we slow it down and just say, is this a moment where you just need to be heard? And then, and it's different because I don't know if you know this, but men and women are different.
Oh yeah,
So, like
yeah. The
you and
nothing box. The
right,
nothing box. I
you
I
and
don't get the nothing box.
right. You and I can sit here and have a conversation, and tell each other our problems and we'll just build on it. Yeah, I know that happened to me too. And you're like, I know that was exactly like this
Mhm.
thing that happened over here. And it doesn't matter. But when you start doing that, a guy's like, I can't follow. I don't know. You're jumping from boxes to boxes. And you're like, when you're done, you're like, I just feel better. And he's like, wait, we didn't do anything. What happened here? You know? I think my husband says just pack your bag because you're going on a trip.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's nowhere. But
Right.
anyway,
A trip to nowhere.
well, I don't know how you're going to top that, but I did ask, do you have a superpower? And what
Ooh,
is that?
I was a little bit hesitant actually, and I was thinking about like what would I put
Oh,
in as a superpower, right? Because, but I started thinking, I'm like, if you have a superpower that makes you like very creative and very resilient, like wildly resilient, and you're able to like hyper focus on something for like a really long time, and then, just when something just is gets your curiosity going, um, you know, and you're just able to learn, I think that that's a great superpower,
yeah.
right? But for years, I didn't realize that it was a superpower. I just thought maybe, well, everybody worked this way, or maybe my brain's a little bit different. But, I actually have a friend who is a therapist, and she's like, have you ever been diagnosed with ADHD? And I was like, no.
Mhm.
And I hate a label,
Yeah.
and and she's like, but you're so highly, like you've modified your behavior enough to work through this. And so,
Mhm.
so I used to be very embarrassed to even talk about it or think about it, but understanding it does change everything for people. And
Mhm.
I think that a lot of people are starting to feel like maybe they have ADHD and then they're like, let me just medicate it and that'll be fine. But I
Mhm.
think it's really like part of it is a distracted world, that
Mhm.
I've always been this way. And it's funny the things that align with someone who has ADHD. They're clumsy, they're forgetful, they are, interrupters and blurters. They fix something when somebody comes to them, like, oh, I got to do this. Well, let me help you research all these cars and all these things, and I'll do all the research for you because they get hyper focused and fixated on something like that. And so I think it's a superpower because like understanding it helped me go, okay, I'm in this funk and I need to get my rhythm back and I need to use my tools. I need to write the task down on a piece of paper, not on a computer, because when you have ADHD, you open
Mhm.
up your task list on a computer and suddenly you're
Mhm.
researching belt buckles. Like it's like doing something you do not need to be doing. Or like when you're supposed to be working on your edits for your book, you're actually, stuck in the research for
The
the
next
one
book.
thing, yeah, or
Yeah.
something like that, or trying I do this. I hyper focus on a sentence to make it perfect. And I know people, then you have the reader who's like, I read it in a whole day. And you're like, I mean, I don't know if it's because I hyper focused on that one sentence. That's probably it, but either way. So, but really, success isn't really wasn't handed to me for sure, and it did make it more difficult for me in childhood. But I just, like I said, learned those tools, and I've learned how to, if I'm going to go into a meeting, I'm going to bring like a fidget spinner, or I'm going to bring something that will keep me. That I know will keep me grounded so that I can pay attention to what other people are doing,
Mhm.
because generally the way the ADHD brain works is it works best when it's at maximum capacity. The
Mhm.
sound, like you just can't turn it off. You just need to be running it 100% all the time. And so if you're doing a task that only takes 40% or like 20% to listen to someone talk, then your brain is struggling because there's like, I'm not at maximum capacity here. How do I do this? And so it's very hard. My husband and I have even joked where we sit and I go like this, like just let me put these blinders on and focus on you. And it can be frustrating for him sometimes as well. But working to understand how your own mind works, because there's spectrums and differences, and
Hmm.
you can turn something that could be considered, a label that it doesn't feel like it's a superpower. It feels like it's a weakness, but you can turn it into a superpower. And a lot of people will say to me, I don't know how you do all this stuff and write a book and do this and then do that. And I'm like, you just got to focus and keep going, just keep going and pray a lot. I pray a lot. That helps.
Yeah, praying helps a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, I had a reading disability.
Mm.
And but my grandmother was a storyteller, and she could keep me focused on her stories. And I'm not a auditory listener or processor.
Mhm.
I'm more, I have to write and tactile. And, but for some reason with her, I could focus. I could focus and pay attention. So,
Did she ever give
but
you like a task to do while you were doing that, like while you were listening to her?
I sucked on a lemon drop and we were on a porch swing,
Yeah,
swinging
see?
back and forth. Yeah.
Because that tactile movement was
Hmm.
taking up some of your processing power. And yeah, so it's little things like that that you probably
Hmm.
didn't think about when you were like, and that's a good thing. If someone even thinks that they struggle with the focusing, then they should look at like, when do I feel most focused, or like, when do I feel most distracted, and try to overcome those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's we're watching binge watching Blind Spot, which is very much a
Hmm.
suspenseful thriller. And I have to play solitaire while I'm doing that because if it slows down just a little bit, then okay, I've got to do solitaire word cookie or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes that, like doing that, will help me disconnect from the high emotion, the high adrenaline of what I'm watching, because I don't watch a lot of television like that. I tend to not watch stuff like that, so it can get me going pretty good. Like
Hmm.
we watch a thriller or something, it can get me going pretty good on those action movies. So I like them,
Yeah.
but
It's sometimes, yeah. So neurodivergent.
Mhm. That's the new word. Yeah.
That's a new word.
Yeah.
So we should unite.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, they say it's neurodivergent, but I would wonder if there actually is, like, there's no one brain, right? There's no one
Yeah.
perfect brain. You look at someone like Elon Musk and everyone's like, oh, he has autism or Asperger's or whatever, or he's just neurodivergent, right? He probably
Hmm.
has ADHD or something, and he probably, because he's creative, he's a thinker, and he's just using his powers to do good things. And then there's other people who are the same way. And so that new phraseology is like, it's an interesting thing, because I think it's just, how did God best gift you? How did he make
Yeah.
you? And then try to lean into those things. And understanding yourself is like the number one thing. We can't know who, like, we can't really understand anything about our behaviors or how to be successful if we can't understand ourselves first.
Yeah. And who God created us to be. And
Right.
that's something we learn every day. Every
Yeah,
day.
absolutely.
This is very profound. Kate, do you have any words for my viewers?
Well, if anything that I said about relationships, kind of got your ear going, and you can go and you can find us at, the easiest way is marriageminute.org. And our nonprofit is called Vanguard Marriage and Family Advocates. And you can go to that website at Vanguard mfa.org, and you can learn a little bit more about us. Or maybe if you just wanted to support what we're doing, you could do that as well, because all of that helps us to give these resources to other people. We were just given some funding so that we can provide free resources to first responders and
Oh,
military, and also some people who are like economically disadvantaged. And so the more that we have people who continue to give, the more that we can give back to our community and beyond. And so we have a huge project that we're doing in Southwest Missouri. We're hoping to do some other states as well. But it's very much needed because their divorce rates are even higher than the average. They're like up to 75% in some cases. It's very
what?
high. 65 to 75% of all first responder marriages will end in divorce, and police officers are one of the highest
Yeah, I
because
knew
of,
police officers were, but oh
yeah. And
my.
And so,
Oh,
and that's higher than like the general population. So if we look at the
sure.
general population and you think it's 1 out of 2, and then you say it's 67% higher than the average, I mean, it's very difficult for them. And then, that just causes a lot more trauma to the families, to the communities, and to the men and women who are serving. And so we really want to do that. So you can, like I said, you could find us, even the easy one would be marriageminute.org, and you can find a way to give or learn more about what we're doing. Or if you're looking for us to come and do something, let us know. Just reach out and say, hey, what can you do for us, for our church, for our community, for our police station? We would love to do something.